listening and watching to us. Today, we are coming with a very interesting session, which is important not only for business owners but for the common man. And it is about unfolding the budget to 2021. Reason behind that, we always feel that what is there for us as in budget 2021. We are a lot. Thank you very much for joining in today with the on Startup Promoter Live. We are here with a very special guest today. We have Mr. Ashok Gautam, ex-revenue serviceman, and now he's going to introduce him. He's going to talk about himself. Over to you, sir.
Yeah, I'm Ashok Gautam. I was a member of the Indian Revenue Service. I joined services sometime in 1977 and I retired in 2012. After that, I've been on my own as a tax advisor and consultant, just on the other side of the desk, and taking up niche issues and relating to tax or Benami matters or even other sensitive matters pertaining to black money, etc.
All right. I mean, the moment people talk about revenue services, people comes with their either the dollar sign in their eyes or either the rupee symbol in their eyes. That revenue service people are always earning more than what they can feel like. But talking about very important things today, that every person is in a rat race. How do you see that when people talk about budgets, when people talk about revenue, when people talk about economy, when people talk about so many things, what are the things you feel like that it has not been addressed in a proper way, or it is actually something which is just been hived in between the people's mind and they've been misleaded? So in nutshell, if I would ask you, is it is it necessary that every person has to be aware about all the taxes and all the things which people have to be, or is there a way they can get to know about these things so that they can be knowing about that, okay, how taxes been reformed and what are the taxes they have to be aware about? So if you can throw some light on that.
Samir, budget is a comprehensive exercise where they plan out as to what are the sources from which the government would be getting its pie in
Mm-hmm.
the coming financial year.
Mm-hmm.
And they also match it with as to how they're going to spend it in different sectors during the course of the year.
Okay.
Now, as far as source generation is concerned, you
Mm-hmm.
see, our money comes from taxes, it comes from borrowings,
Mm-hmm.
and return on capital, all those things.
Mm-hmm.
So we print money also. I mean, you would
Mm.
have heard,
Yeah.
would have heard. See, because where there's a gap, you need to put in that sort of a fund to
Mm-hmm.
meet the expenses that are projected.
Okay.
So when you talk of the budget in general, like this year's budget talks of budget expenditure of 34.8 lakh crores
Mm-hmm.
as against 34.5 lakh crores in the last year.
Mm-hmm.
So this almost matching because last year the government had put in a lot of money,
Mm-hmm.
chipped in a lot of money, and to support different sectors. So we are
Mm-hmm.
continuing with the same thing in this year also. Almost it's almost the same thing.
Okay.
But uh, we have that is the reason this year the taxes have not been raised. I mean they are kept at the same level, eh? And
Mm-hmm.
they are trying to promote different sectors. So they have channelized these funds in identified areas where they find there's a potential for growth or which can help different segments of the society. Like you'll see that, yes, they said ki Atmanirbhar Bharat Swasthya Yojana. They said we are allocating 64,150 crores or something, some odd figure like that.
Mm-hmm.
So that's an additional input which is coming in this year, which
Okay.
of course is the need of the hour, eh?
All right.
Similar support for MSMEs. Eh?
Okay.
So these are the areas where the funds are going in.
Right. Um, so actually, sir, the point is that people are not aware about certain number of taxes. All right. So people when see basically about the taxes and tax reforms, the salary class only talks about the income tax all the time, and the other taxes which can be levied on him. So how do you see this particular budget? what are the implications or impact will be there on the service class of our Indian economy, who are recently joined into this job culture. So I'm talking not only about the people who recently joined, but those who are also working from past 2 or 5 years, the capping of 5 years. How do you see this particular budget for them? I mean, what does this budget have for them?
So, I mean, as far as the tax part is concerned, for people who have started earning now in these last 3, 4, 5 years,
Hmm.
see, there's absolutely, I'll say absolutely no change. There's very little change as far as the tax structure is concerned. The tax rates remain the same.
Okay.
The tax rates remain the same. They have just touched on the EPF where they have made it taxable if it goes above 2.5%, 2.5 lakh rupees. That's a minor thing which
Okay.
hardly affects taxpayers' money in hand, cash in hand. Otherwise, the rates remain the same as in the last year.
Okay. All right. So I think that we can quote it as that it is a good news for the early stage starters that the tax reforms has been changed to the capping of 5 lakh rupees. Up to 5 lakh, they don't have to pay any taxes. But now, as an IT industry is booming day by day, and what we can see that the CTC from the top engineering colleges has been gone rise to, I think, more than 25 lakhs, 30 lakhs, or we come across with the people across who are earning 45 lakhs per year. Now, for them, how do you see this particular budget?
So, I mean, CTC is a misnomer. You will appreciate that because it has
Yes.
got so many components which get hidden one way or the other,
Uh-huh.
which your employer sells to you.
Okay.
What see what an individual or the government is concerned is the actual money that is. See, every receipt is taxable unless it is exempt. That is the basic concept.
Yes.
Every receipt is taxable unless it is exempt or it is within the manageable limits of either on the basis of the investment or on the basis of the receipt part of
Hmm.
it. So the earlier the government had done away with various things like your standard deductions and all those things, or the sectorial benefits which you would get for ATC deductions or PPF and all those things. These are just your investment schemes where you are
Okay.
able to save it.
Hmm.
Suppose your company is making a certain sort of a reimbursement to you and it goes out of the company's accounts. The company would be taking it, claiming it
Hmm.
as their expenditure, and it gets added to your CTC. You're not liable to tax on that. That is how the company escapes taxation on that amount, and you also escape taxation on that amount. And
All right.
similarly, like getting certain reimbursements
Hmm.
in one way or the other. So the companies claim it as an actual expenditure spent on the employee, whereas it's not the actual expenditure. So
Exactly.
these are the areas companies also try to get away.
Exactly, sir. This is the reason why I quoted this particular one question in this particular format, because what exactly is happening right now, that the moment people or read about the lines that the government has put the taxation on between the 5 lakhs and then 10 lakhs and then 30 lakhs, people pick it up. Okay, I'm earning 30 lakhs or 12 lakhs or 6 lakh rupees, so I'll come into the tax labs or something like that. And now what exactly is going out, that because there is so much unawareness about all these taxations and how the taxation is being calculated, how you should be planning about your taxes. uh, Usually people get misled by different agencies or different people, and they don't know that what is their taxable income and what is their non-taxable income, which component was
Right?
going. So this is why I have quoted that, okay, when you are saying the word CTC, it is not going to be your complete taxable income. You have to go and see what is your basic component and what are the places where you've been getting an exemptions. So this is why. Uh, Moving on to the very important question, how do you see this particular budget for the commodity products, which are very or essential products for a common man? So when I say commodity products or essential products for the common man, what are the things you can see that it is going to impact the common man's pocket? from this particular budget?
See, I don't see much change because the GST structure is also not changed.
Mm-hmm.
GST structure, see, as far as the commodity or as far as the common man's spending is concerned, it's
Mm-hmm.
on the usual purchases or the commodities or the white goods,
Okay.
right? Now, for these items, the government has come out with specific reliefs, especially for MSMEs which were into manufacturing these products,
Mm-hmm.
where they have done some sort of adjustment in the custom duty rates and other rates, but some sort of a readjustment. But
Mm-hmm.
otherwise, there isn't going to be any change as such.
Okay. Okay. Because
Right.
there's this is something which people needs to know about as well. Because in usually what we were able to see over the news channels that were clothing is going expensive, food items going to be expensive, or this kind of thing. These things will be going expensive. So it creates a myth because what you see, you believe on that instead of just going out and see what is the difference has come up with the budget which will be implementing from 1st of April though. But people start reactions. You can see the internet has been flooded with reaction that the government is not doing certain things in order to relieve the common man from the post COVID situation. But yes, I think you answered it very well that the GST has been on the same note, and GST and nothing was going to impact much on the particular part on the common man's issues. All right. Very so. Moving on to the next segment, it's what we call it as an entertainment segment. So, being into revenue servers, how do you rate your experiences when you come across to different people and different people who have a myth about this revenue services? So here I want to ask you a little bit question towards your personal experience, that when you come across with certain number of people and you just tell them that okay, I was working with the in revenue department from 1977 or from a very long time, how did they react, or what they have a common myth about this particular industry, about the revenue
The
services?
entertainment
Yeah, revenue service,
industry, sorry,
revenue services I'm talking about.
an interaction with. I didn't get your question.
Okay, so I'll rephrase it. So usually what happens when you come across with different people from different sectors and you tell them that you are from revenue department, you are working into revenue department, what are the common myths people have in mind with the revenue department which you come across?
See, generally people react differently from what
Uh,
the way they react is different from the way they interact with
mhm,
others. That is for sure.
mhm.
Sometimes you will come across people who will shy away from you.
Okay.
Then there are people who think, yes, making friends with him will be worthwhile. See, that is the other side. But inherent fear. See, the basic concept is, see, if you are in a revenue service or in a police organization or any other organization where you
Mhm,
tend to wield power because you are saddled with a certain responsibility. There, people are a little scared.
mhm.
People are that lurking feeling of fear is there at the back of the mind because uh, people generally associate income tax or customs or enforcement with raids,
Mhm.
right? So that is one fear. Then the other fear is that yes, no one would like to open out as freely with you as interacting with a common man. So
Of course.
that of course I've noticed
Uh-huh.
because now I'm a professional. Now people open up freely with me because unless they open up freely with me, I'll not be in a position to advise them.
Of course, of course. All right. And thank you very much, because this is something which is very common to us, the people who are from the revenue or from the investors. So actually, I'm asking this particular question with regards because most of the time when people talk to us, you are from a media industry. So from because we are from a media industry, so they feel like, okay, can you give us a column in your place, in your segment, in your website or on your YouTube? We can do this, we can do that. So this is how people try to encash the opportunity, though. All right. Uh, Coming back to an important part, as a honorable prime minister has always focused on startups and SMEs. and MSMEs. Um, Due to the pandemic, they are the biggest people who've been impacted drastically. And the government has taken a lot of initiatives for them in order to uplift them, but the kind of impact on these particular sectors are so huge that it will take at least 2 to 3 years for them to come out of it. But how do you see this particular budget is going to support them in their this financial year? How do you see that the startups who have been impacted last year because of the pandemic, and those who are not able to restart their journey, how do you see that this particular budget can actually boost them or encourage them to come back again and start working? Is there any sort of things which for them as well?
Samir, before that, before we start discussing that part, it's better to understand what this Startup India scheme was introduced in the year 2016.
Yes.
See, any company or LLP or a firm
Mm-hmm.
which is into manufacturing or production or supplying services,
Mm-hmm.
and which has come into being in the last 10 years. I mean, that was the proposal in 2016,
Mm-hmm.
can avail of the benefits which are available to the startups. Now,
Mm-hmm.
this scheme continued till the deadline was 31st of March 2021, 2021. This budget has increased the deadline to 31st March 2022. That means any startup which gets incorporated even during the ensuing year, that is from 1 for 2021 onwards, till
Mm-hmm.
31st March, will also be eligible for that sort of a benefit. Number one.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
Number two, uh, same benefit is available to the investors in the startup. They have exempted the capital gains
Mm-hmm.
because the startups need investment. For this investment part, they've exempted the capital gains which get invested in startups. That is also extended till 31st March 2022.
Okay.
Third, third is that one person companies
Mm-hmm.
concept that has been introduced where a single person company can be incorporated with no restrictions on the capital or the turnover, which provided satisfies those specified conditions.
Mm-hmm.
So this is a big boost to the innovators also. As
Mm-hmm.
you may be aware, I mean, till the last reported figures for startups are 41,000 and odd
Mm-hmm.
till 31st of December 2020.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And startups have generated employment to the tune of say to about say 4 lakh. They employ about 4 lakh 70,000, 4 lakh 80,000 employees as such.
Mm-hmm.
Startups have been employment generator
Mm-hmm.
on the one hand, and some new concepts have come in because see, look at the wider perspective all over the world. People are changing the business models. The old business models are collapsing. And,
Mm-hmm.
uh, look at the Western countries. They are
Mm-hmm.
developing artificial intelligence based on artificial intelligence. They are coming up with so many products, so many services also.
Mm-hmm.
So that is the very reason that our Prime Minister came up with that concept of Atmanirbhar Bharat, Make in India concept, so that
Yeah.
this thing is encouraged.
Yeah. Yeah.
The focus all along has been
Mm-hmm.
to make people job creators rather than job hunters.
Yes, I fully agree with him, with you, sir, here. And even I remember that in one of, I think, last to last year, when he quoted that don't pick people who are selling the vendors, the street vendors, as unemployed. Even they are employed because they are generating revenue for themselves and they are earning the basic things. And you never know who is going to be what in the next 5 years. So I completely agree with you, but actually the point is, that when it comes to the taxations, uh, as an emerging startups, as an emerging, I'll say business owners, one of the key factors which restrict people is unawareness about the taxations which are there in the market or which are being levied by the government. Now, the problem is that as there is no such particular site which talks about that what are the taxes you should be taking care from the day one in terms of your entrepreneur journey. And because of the fact, what happens, most of the people end up paying more than what they have to pay. So is there a way that they can know that, okay, if I'm doing this sort of work, I should be aware about what are my taxations? So that would really help the audiences as well, people who are looking forward to start. Because I'll ask the next question related to this as well, but I need to understand first this particular one.
So, in the first place, there's a benefit to the investor in the startups, as I mentioned, that capital gains is exempt.
Okay.
So, if you're having capital gains and if you're making that investment in the startup,
Mm-hmm.
then that is exempt. That is in the first place. Secondly,
Mm-hmm.
the startups are allowed to choose 3 assessment years out of 10 where their total income they get a tax holiday for
Mm-hmm.
100% tax holiday as such. So three
Okay.
years of 10 years, 3 years of their own choice. That is when they start earning having taxable income.
Mm-hmm.
They can very well choose those 3 years, and
Mm-hmm.
but they have to be consecutive, 3 consecutive assessment years for which their income will be exempt, totally exempt.
Oh,
That's a big
that's, yeah. That then that would be really great in that particular part. Now, as I said, there will be an interrelated question to this. Uh, in the pandemic, in the year 2020, in the pandemic year, a lot of people lost their jobs. All right, and they have to move out into their own self-working formats. Now, those who were earning into private sectors or in different segments, hospitality industry or something somewhere, they lost their jobs and they started into tuitions. They started working as in solo freelancers uh, to earn their livelihoods. Is there any implication on them also from this particular budget? I mean, will there be any implications on them as well?
Yes. See, you'll find on a fine reading, you'll notice that there's a lot of investment which is being channelized
Mm-hmm.
on towards manufacturing, towards infrastructure
Mm-hmm.
as part of this Atma Nirbhar Bharat campaign.
Mm-hmm.
And this is bound to generate employment. People
Mm-hmm.
will get employment. There's sectorial benefits like they've announced setting up of 7 textile parks, and
Mm-hmm.
they've announced this investment in various public projects. They've announced this NHAI is of course working.
Mm-hmm.
They've announced different corridors. They've announced 7 highway projects.
Yeah.
All those things are there. So these are bound to generate employment, and they have announced support to MSMEs.
Mm-hmm.
See, support to MSMEs has gone up from 7,500 to almost 15,700 crores.
Mm-hmm.
So once these companies are back on rails, and
Mm-hmm.
once this investment gets into the system, obviously it is bound to generate employment.
All
People
right.
may have lost jobs, but you would have noticed that people have started coming back, and the economy is slowly getting back on rails.
Yeah, so that is absolutely true, sir. But now certain people, because they were unemployed for a longer duration, all right. So what they started as a freelancing tuition classes, freelancing. So they were into consulting sort of things, where they started because a person who is 12 years experience, 13-year experience, 14 years experience older, they lost their job drastically in a day out. Now, if they have lost their job for a month, they waited, then second month they waited, but then they found this freelancing consulting part where they started earning on the consultation basis. Now, is there anything going to happen on them as well? Because they are not a registered unit. If I talk about, they are not the registered unit into any segment, neither in the proprietary, nor into the LLP, or nor into the 1P OPC or private limited firms segment. They are just doing the freelancer job. Now whatever they are earning, it is also going to be their income, because it will be a part of income for them. Now for the freelancers, because most of the people are turning towards to be the freelancer, and to be, instead of calling them as such as a freelancer, they are calling themselves as a private consultant. So for them, are there any going to be nearby impact on them as well that they'll also be covered under this particular one? For instance, I'll quote it like this. For instance, if I'm giving advice to 25 people in a month, and from every person I'm earning 5,000 rupees, every consultation is for 5,000 rupees. So I believe I'll cross more than 1 lakh 25,000 in a month. Now, if I'll be earning more than 1,25,000 in a month, it will go in without any taxation. Will it that be? It will be going like that ways, or it is going to be in the total year when we'll be calculating the complete year. It comes under the annual income source as well. So the person has to give the amount as well. So, for instance, person who started working in this particular sector from October 2020, and in March he has to submit the ITR, the annual filings. So, what he has to do on that particular note?
See, like the example which you gave,
Hmm.
his monthly receipts are say around say a lakh of rupees.
Yeah,
Now, say from October to March, it nets up to almost 6 lakhs of rupees. So with
yeah,
a little bit of investment
yeah.
planning,
Hmm.
he can be tax free as far as this particular year is concerned. six
Okay,
months, you agree, is a good time to start up a new thing because you would not like to go back to the old place where you were working earlier because you already set up your own base. You are no longer a job
exactly.
seeker, you're a job creator now. Uh,
Exactly. That is why, because to be very honest, there are a lot of people who are there who are running at a very good position and a stature, but because of the pandemic, because of the not only the pandemic, if I talk about the Delhi NCR region, most of the people lost their job because of this the strike, the entire blockade which happened near the Delhi NCR region. That also created, because the supply chain was being stopped, the manufacturing people are not getting the employment, the marketing was being stopped, advertising was being stopped. So because of that as well, they were not getting the employment, and then they started this sort of consultations and everything. So they are really worried, because a person who is 25 plus years or 12 years plus years and he's earning per consultations, so there is no consolidated amount what he's getting in chunks and bits and pieces. So that impacts the person the most. And thank you very much for that clarification that he can actually now be relieved if he's planning good enough. So people who have started in year 2020 as their freelancer shops or consultancy part, they need to be smarter and smarter, so that
See, because
they,
whatever goes into your bank account, that
uh,
is tracked. Yeah, one that can be easily identified. You have no
mhm.
choice but to pay tax on that
Oh,
unless you planned it well.
yeah. So be smarter, be smarter. Just don't be intelligent, because there is a difference between being smarter and being intelligent. So I quote it this particular way: if you are intelligent, you'll find a way, but if you are smarter, then you find a way which can save you as well. So that is very important. Uh, Coming to the last segment of our interview, how do you see this particular budget in, if I'll say, with the three merits and three demerits about this particular budget? So I'll start asking first about the demerits, what you see from the perspective of this particular budget, and then we'll close it with the merits on this particular budget.
See, as far as the demerits are concerned, I mean, one thing that actually really stares in the eye is when you're talking of developing the highway, you're developing the infrastructure, you are talking of opening up different corridors. See,
Hmm.
this is always coupled with deforestation and migration of population.
Hmm.
The budget has not addressed anything.
Hmm.
It's silent as far as the environmental part or the climate part is concerned.
Okay.
Climate happens to be a big issue worldwide.
Yeah.
So we have only attended to the investment in the highways or the infrastructure part or opening up various corridors, but the
Hmm.
attendant problem has not been taken care of.
Okay.
The second thing is there's a drastic reduction in Manrega amount. That's reduced by almost 42%.
Hmm.
Then various other socialist schemes, national socialist schemes like the Prime Minister Awas Yojana, the Prime Minister Kisan Food Subsidy, and
Mm-hmm.
other similar schemes, there is a reduction in the amount that is allocated on these sectors.
Mm-hmm.
If these amounts would have gone to the poorer sections, I mean, people who are the actual beneficiaries under Manrega or the Kisan Food Subsidy program and others, it would have pushed the demand.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So at that level, the budget has failed us.
Okay.
These are the two areas where I find that yes, the efforts are lacking.
Okay. Uh, what about the merits, sir?
As far as the merits part is concerned, see, I'm really happy that yes, Prime Minister Atmanirbhar Swasth Yojana, there's a very heavy allocation, which of course was required,
Mm-hmm.
in spite of the fact that now we see that people are not going in for vaccination also, because
Yeah.
the government has planned for that.
Uh-huh.
But health still remains inadequately funded.
Okay.
If you look at the overall perspective, health still remains inadequately funded.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, Not only the public health, but the health segment as such.
Okay.
Now,
So I think yes, sir. Please go ahead. Any
I
any
mean,
any 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 more points would you think that it will be there? Because we have covered the merits in a very broader spectrum for the people.
the other best part is that yes, as has been done in the revenue services,
Mm-hmm.
they are gradually moving towards faceless interaction with the taxpayers in other segments also,
Mm-hmm.
like in income tax and in this GST.
Mm-hmm.
Right up to the appeal level, they have made it faceless, so there's no public interaction. No one can allege ps I've been asked a bribe or I've been forced to pay a bribe, because there's a total disconnect. The person who is actually ascertaining your tax liability is doesn't know as to who is the person who is determining your tax liability,
Yeah.
and there's no way to find it out. There's no way to find it out.
Okay.
Same thing has been introduced in NCLT courts also.
Mm-hmm.
NCLT is also moving towards that direction. They
Mm-hmm.
have promised, yes, they'll align the NCLT, because see, these industries, there are also there are various industries which required debt resolution because of the COVID. The MSME sector had also covered. So they have come out with the scheme that yes, NCLT will also be turned faceless, so that there's a faster resolution and there's no conflict.
Okay. That'd be really nice, sir. And any closing note for the youth who is just looking to start or preparing for the revenue service, because your guidance will actually help them a lot. That if there will be a lot of aspirants who will be picking up revenue services, uh, because it is one of the most prestigious services what you can do. So any guidance for them, or any particular note for them, because I think with your experience I would like to address one of the most important factors of our country, that people have become impatient, and the youth has started committing suicide for no reasons, for a very smaller and smaller part, that they are not being getting selected or being just facing one failure, they start taking these harsh steps. So anything you would like to address to that particular people as well, that can motivate them as well.
See, as far as the youth are concerned, it is entirely the choice of the individual whether he wants to be an employment generator or wants to be an employee.
Uh-huh.
Now, coming to those people who really want to be get employed, I mean, I'm from UP, so I know that yes, this is one of the main planks there in states like UP,
Hmm.
Bihar, and there in the north. That yes, you get some employment, or rather than being a job creator, you want to get employed. And if you really want to get employed, then again you have choices. Like if you are a technocrat, then of course you want to go to a different field. Like I have worked in services. My father was in services, but both my sons, they don't want to join services. So it's entirely up to one's own
In
to make a lemonade of his lemon. But
uh,
for those people who really want to join services, it's not at all difficult as such. I'll put it that.
mhm.
If you have lost out for any reason, it is because you have not geared yourself up to the whole thing. You get distracted. In our days, when we joined service, there were no distractions like social media or telephones or
Yeah,
or even the television. Huh? Maybe that was one of the reasons, but there are, people have been joining services even thereafter. So if it's a matter of pride working for the government.
of
It's
course.
really a matter of pride working for the government.
Uh,
Though the payments are not what you get in the private sector, but the prestige, the respect, and the sort of identity that you create for yourself
mhm.
uh, always compensates for it. And therefore, I'll put it differently. See, people look at the services only when they see a person in the police uniform, or they see a district magistrate, or they see a revenue officer. There's
Mhm.
so many other central services also. It's not necessary that, yes, of course, if you have got selected, you'll join, you'll get only these services.
Mhm.
So for the prestigious services, of course, you have to have a higher rank. So
Uh,
study well, work well, be focused,
yeah.
and anyone can
Join.
get it.
All
Anyone
right.
can get it. I had been telling my both my sons, ki,
Uh-huh.
yes, I need 2 hours daily from you, and within 6 months, yes, you can get into the services. See, it's again a technique.
Uh,
It's a technique, and technique has to be mastered. You will fail once, you will fail twice, but
Not
that's
multiple.
you experience. You get experience only after failing.
Of course, indeed, that is absolutely true, sir. And I think this is really nice for everyone to interact with a person like you who has such a huge experience and the kind of knowledge what you have. Um, so at the end, I would just like to conclude with this particular note that if you are an aspirant, if you are a person who is looking forward to start your own business, starting up or an employment employee as well, looking for employment as well, just be focused, be what you are, don't get carried away with the things which are taking you from here and there, and always look on a shorter and a smaller goals first rather than to jump on the larger and a bigger goals. With this, we I would like to conclude our interview with Mr. Ashok Gautam, and I would really like to thank you on behalf of the entire Startup Reporter team that he gave us the time to interact with us. We'll be very in depth with him so that we can, and the kind of knowledge he has shared to the all the for all our audiences will be always in depth with you. So thank you very much for joining
Thank
us
you, sir.
today.
Thank you, sir.